Trust is a crucial component in every relationship, including the one with yourself. Living life with a lack of trust within yourself becomes very obvious over time, when you begin to lie to yourself about yourself to make yourself feel good about the mistakes you make. It's a vicious cycle that should be noticed as soon as possible in order to build that trust back. Welcome back, Psychos. In today's video, we'll be discussing 10 signs you don't have trust in yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, as well as click the notification bell so that you never miss a video. Number 1. You always compare your decisions. First and foremost, a good way to tell if you don't have full trust within yourself is to notice how you feel when making decisions. Are you always iffy about the outcomes? Or are you confident that whatever happens, happens? If you're constantly contemplating whether or not your decision was the right one by comparing it to other people's decisions, you're probably living with a sense of self-distrust. This can become a difficult trait to deal with in many aspects of life, especially as an adult trying to navigate through life with making decisions after decision. It's smart to work out your pros and cons before making a big life decision, like trying for a baby, moving homes, and getting married. However, once you've made the decision, it's best to leave it alone and trust with the comparison of pros and cons you did earlier, you have made the right decision. The constant feeling of uncertainty tends to cause people around you to also grow lack in trust in your decisions because you never seem sure of them yourself. Number 2. You control your outer environment. The need to control your outer circumstances in every possible way is a telltale sign that you have an underlying need for stability and power. Often enough, people who experience that need to control have an underlying sense of chaos and disorder within themselves, resulting in the feeling of self-distrust. People who have a lack of self-trust are not only comparing their own decisions, but also the decisions made by other people that will affect them personally. People like this often have a lack of trust towards other people's decisions as well, especially if they don't know them. For example, people who try to control their outer environment in work settings are often micromanagers because they feel like they can do a better job than the next person. Meanwhile, they are contemplating and re-evaluating their decisions constantly. Number 3. You minimize your own needs. Minimizing your own needs may come off as selflessness. However, when you minimize your own needs to the point of never getting around to them, you can put your relationship and mental health in jeopardy. According to psychologist Rune Malbach, this type of attitude towards life in which you shut out your own needs, desires and pride can be extremely problematic in the long run. This self-distrust is often a product of underlying feelings of shame and guilt, which makes you feel selfish should you decide to put your needs first. When we ignore our natural wants and desires due to feeling selfish for having them, then you end up feeling even more alienated to yourself. Over time, you will forget those nagging self-desires because you have been ignoring them for so long, making you feel empty inside while not knowing who you are or what you like anymore. Minimizing your own needs usually results in prioritizing with other people's needs, which will actually leave you feeling increasingly resentful to these people while feeling drained by their company. Number 4. Avoiding recognizing self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is nothing to stress about because we all do it from time to time. But the lack of recognizing prolonged self-sabotage can become mentally debilitating and draining. This can be the avoidance of recognizing or challenging self-destructive behaviors such as abusing alcohol or substances, negative self-talk, and food binging. Self-sabotaging yourself can also come in the form of unwillingness to recognize where you went wrong in situations while blaming everything on the other person or outer circumstance, while failing to see how your behaviors could have had something to do with it. Self-sabotage also comes with avoiding to recognize all the good things you've accomplished or belittling them to make them feel not as important, instead of bringing yourself to experience the rewarding feelings of pride when accomplishing something, do you feel like you haven't done enough? Ever? This could mean that you actually have distrust in your accomplishments, writing them off as anyone could have done it, or I could have done that way sooner, except XYZ happened. This also makes the praise or congratulations from other people seem ingenuine because you can't see your accomplishments yourself. Number 5. You don't finish what you start. It takes a lot of self-trust and self-discipline to complete a project that we start, especially if it's a lengthy one. So it doesn't come as a surprise that people with self-trust issues would have difficulty finishing what they started. In fact, people with self-distrust often have difficulty starting projects in the first place because they never feel confident that they're making the right choice. Therefore, when they finally do start something, the lack of confidence trickles into every area of the project, making it extremely difficult to complete. Although these people have a sense of difficulties they may face in their new endeavours, because they have rehearsed the pros and cons in their head 100 times before beginning, they still seem to be thrown off course when challenges are presented. This can make it easy to start looking elsewhere for a project that seems more appealing, leaving this, now challenging project on the sidelines. Number 6. You defer to others to make decisions. With the constant reviewing and comparing of self-made decisions, people with self-trust find it much easier to put the decisions on someone else. This is a tactic used when, subconsciously, you don't want the heat on your shoulders should the decision fail. Even if the decision is merely for personal needs, people with self-distrust would rather use the recommendations or opinions of others to make them feel confident that they're making the right choice. Relying on others to tell you if you're making the right choice is actually very counterintuitive because we usually look to people closest to us for advice more times than not. These people don't fully care what decision you make because it's not their life. For example, if you keep asking everyone if you should quit your job, that right there should be a sheer sign that you, in fact, are ready to leave that job. But you need to hear it from someone else that it's a good decision. When in reality, they won't be the ones who are out of a paycheck trying to find another job, and they also aren't the ones that have to show up to that so-called hellhole every day. Number 7. You live by the victim mentality. With everyone making decisions for you, it's much easier to deflect the heat off of you and blame others or other circumstances for things not working out. This is a perfect example of the victim mentality. For those who have a lack of self-confidence, which usually comes hand in hand with a lack of self-trust, failure has the ability to throw them completely off guard. To avoid this, it brings comfort for those people in knowing whatever didn't work out was not their fault. In fact, it was entirely the fault of outer circumstances, making them the victim to their lives. It requires loads of self-esteem to own up to your mistakes, especially if they have had a negative impact on you or others. This self-esteem is diminished in people with self-distrust, making life feel like it's happening to them instead of being in the driver's seat. This mindset can also make life seem completely unpredictable and scary, leading to lack of motivation to better yourself. Number 8. Your ego is in the driving seat. When your ego's in control, it's bad news. Ego can make you feel either extremely inferior to others or the complete opposite, feeling superior to others. Either way, it's a difficult way to navigate through life. A few signs that your ego is in control is that you feel happier when talking about other people's flaws, you have an overwhelming sense to win every argument, you feel jealous when other people do well, or you blame others when things don't go your way. Egotistic behaviours are usually there to compensate for the lack of self-esteem and distrust we have within ourselves. Think of the ego as a big bully brother trying to protect your fragile little mind from the negatives that life throws your way. Even though these negatives will help you grow as a person and make you recognise the areas where you could probably improve yourself. the ego is standing in your way. It's nothing more than a safety mechanism that is merely there to self-serve and make decisions that usually don't benefit itself. Number 9. You break self-commitments. Take the box of donuts with you. I don't trust myself. That some people flat out admit sometimes. We don't always trust ourselves, especially in the way of temptation. So, when people with a sense of distrust set out to make a personal commitment, it's easy for them to break it when faced with temptation or laziness. Usually, when we make commitments to ourselves, they are for self-improvement in some way. Over time, our ability to commit will soon be overridden by thoughts of self-doubt, by feeding ourselves a narrative of being unreliable or flaky. Soon enough, failed commitment after failed commitment, you begin to believe that every self-improvement commitment is optional, taking the importance out of it altogether. Although people with self-trust issues are often people-pleasers that avoid breaking promises and commitments to others, the lack of self-esteem and self-worth makes it easy for them to flake on themselves and their own personal goals. Number 10. You are disconnected from your intuition. When your ego is in the driver's seat, your intuition is usually in the back, blindfolded. When ego is running out of lives, our intuition is put on the back burner, making the intuitive feeling feel foreign to us over time. Intuition is your gut instinct, and it requires total self-trust in order to use it to our benefit. It's considered our sixth sense in many ways, and when we are in tune with it, it's like having a higher guidance helping you through life. However, this sixth sense takes commitment and practice with using your intuition, both of which people with self-distrust lack. With your intuition blindfolded and your ego in control, undeniable feelings of indecision, disconnected and disempowerment takes place. These feelings not only contribute to the underlying lack of self-trust, but they also make decisions making considerably more difficult. Decision-making is so overwhelming for these people because they have to use physical proof and calculations in order to make the dreaded right decision, compared to actively intuitive people who have a strong gut feeling when faced with a decision. Well, that's it for today, Psychos. Tell us in the comments below, do you have trust in yourself according to these signs in the video? Also, make sure to leave us a like, share this video with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel for more Psycho videos. We hope you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.